Good afternoon, Yorkshire Classic Cars Limited fans, Capri fans, 8HP fans. Sorry for the jiggly camera. I'll explain why in a second. I probably ought to apologise for what's no doubt a pretty clickbaity thumbnail that I've put on this. But it is a means to an end. I want some opinions, and I want some knowledgeable opinions, and I want people to try and help me out here. I made a comment in the last video I put on, but it didn't get a lot of views. It only got, it's pretty up to about 250, 300 views. And I made this mention in that video, and I would like some genuine feedback from a wider audience, maybe a wider audience than my fan base or my subscribers, and maybe a wider audience, because I know obviously a lot of people who subscribe, like, they're into stags and things. Some are into Capris, some are into drag racing, some are into restoration, some are into welding, but this is specifically linked to the 8HP swap. Now, just as an intro, if you haven't heard of the 8HP swap, everybody's alive. The internet is buzzing with the 8HP Jaguar BMW gearbox. Not a culmination. Just to give you a history on it that I'm aware of, the 8HP is an 8-speed automatic gearbox. It uses mechanical solenoids to control the oil flow. Don't know a lot about automatic gearboxes, so bear with me if I'm wrong. Please tell me. That's done electronically, so basically those solenoids open and close, controlled by a TCU, a transmission control unit. The TCU is built into what they call the mechatronic unit. Now, this has opened up a huge market for people, basically based on the strength of the transmission, but also because you can get it to do things that normal automatic gearboxes needed custom parts to do. So, for example, I have a Power Glide over there, which is a 1950s 2-speed gearbox. They use them in Chevys, Buicks, Oldsmobiles, Pontiacs, stuff like that. Different bell housing, obviously, on the bottom, but either way. Turbo 400s, Turbo 350s, 700 R4s, 700, there's just 6L80s. They have a mechanical valve body inside. And you can change that body of valves to allow it to do different things. So it will go to a manual shift, or it will go to, you can put a trans brake on. If you don't know what a trans brake is, basically on the line when you're drag racing, you lock it into forwards and reverse. And when you drop there's a little solenoid in the back of the box, and when you drop the button, it basically just puts it straight into forwards and takes out reverse, and off you go. Obviously it gives you a good shock reaction on your tyres and stuff like that. You can bump them, which is basically you put your trans brake on and then you can bump forwards till you're into stage. Now you can do all this stuff with an 8HP electronically, so through a TCU, of which I bought over yonder. Now, they come in a range mostly fitted that I'm aware of to BMWs and Jaguars. Jaguar in the UK, Jaguar Land Rover Group. I believe some Range Rovers have them in. But most of the BMW is the used one to go to. They come in like a 4550, which is the small frame box. I think 4550, could be wrong. Then they go 7090, 7590, which is the large frame box. So it's a bigger, imagine a Turbo 350 next to a Turbo 400 if you're aware of those gearboxes. The second number denotes the torque capacity in Newton meters. Now, I say Newton meters to people and they go, and to be fair, I go, so for example, my car made 550 Newton meters at the hubs. That's somewhere around 400 plus pounds foot. I'll put a little thing in there of how much pounds foot that actually is. There is a little equation, you can do it. You can obviously find a translator on Google that will sort that out. Now then, so that's an intro into the gearboxes. You can make them race, you can make them automatic, you can make them hard automatic, you can make them manual valve body, so shift the automatic box physically. You can also use a clutch emulator that, even with the torque converter, will allow you to use it like there's a clutch in there, which is amazing. And people use that when they're drifting and things, because this is a go-to box now with the drifters and stuff. So basically, when my gearbox exploded catastrophically at Melbourne Raceway, I looked into doing different boxes. So I looked into manual gearboxes, strong manual gearboxes. I have a CD 009 box over there, which is a really strong 350Z manual H-pattern box. very long, unfortunately, and no simple way of adapting that to a Rover V8. During my conflagrations, I found that the people are now putting this ZF box into, you can buy an adapter plate for just about anything. A lot for the LS, LM block, Chevy block. That's the, if anybody doesn't know this, the LM, LS castings are the same bell housing pattern as a normal small block or big block Chevy. Big block Chevy is the same as small block Chevy as well. Excuse me. So small block transmission will fit straight to a big block. It might not last 10 minutes, but it will physically fit. Anywho, so, excuse me, I can't hear very well. Hold up, so I'm going to take that down. So I weighed it up and I figured a box was 300 quid delivered with a torque converter with everything. And so I bought one. I thought, you know what, a TKX box is about £3,000. By the time I bought a bell housing, a clutch, another clutch, made it fit, another prop shaft and blah, blah, blah. It's going to come to about 5 or 6 grand, give or take. Probably about 6 by the time you've factored in all the nuts, bolts, screws and the little bits that are what runs the cost of a job up. What I didn't weigh up for the ZF is you need that same stuff. So the adapter plate I used was 1,200 quid plus. Now then, for a Chevy you can get one for about 300 quid. For a 1UZ you can get one for about 400 quid. So obviously the Rover V8 isn't a popular engine these days. They're dying off because they're not being made anymore. Back when they were cheap and plentiful, they were popular. So I digress, sorry. So I bought the TCU, I bought the flaps for the flappy paddle gear shift. I've bought the switch for the different programs and lots of gubbins. I've ordered a prop shaft and stuff. But what I'm getting now, in a discussion on Facebook, I got told that unless I'm using 600 horsepower and 600 pound-foot of torque, which is a lot, it's a total waste of time. And then someone commented on Facebook and said, why would you put one in that car? That's pointless. You need at least 550 horsepower, 500 horsepower and 550 pound-foot. I'm making 400 horsepower, so, you know. But they never quantified that. And what I'm trying to deliberate is, now I'm going to put at the bottom of the page at this point, how much power, the car my box came out of was a 3-litre diesel Jaguar. I don't know how much horsepower that makes off the top of my head, but I will put it down here at some point. The HHP 70, which is what I'm using, is fitted to a 2.2 diesel Jaguar and a 3-litre diesel Jaguar. Now, if anybody's wondering, the bell housing pattern is different, and so is the torque converter, and so is the output doofer. Excuse me, but they are different. And then I got to thinking about this, and I said to my girlfriend, what do they mean? So am I making a huge mistake here? Can somebody please point out why you need that level of torque? Because people are talking to me now and saying I talked to my mapper the other day and he said, have you rebuilt the box? Have you upgraded it inside? And I went, no, it's good for 700 Newton meters, isn't it? And he went, it is, but when you start using slick tires and ladder bars and blah, blah, blah. Now I know people don't always get this, that the weight of the vehicle, if mine was a full body car, if I put it in the Skyline, if I put it in a Dodge Ram, you know, a heavier weight vehicle, then obviously that puts more pressure on components. More torque puts pressure on components. Don't even worry about horsepower, because with horsepower doesn't always come massive torque. V8s do produce a lot of torque, usually through big capacity and stuff. So why am I wasting my time? Am I wasting my time? And if I am wasting my time, what else can I do? Because I don't know. I do know somebody who made an adapter plate between a Chevy gearbox and a Rover. He hasn't got that anymore. He's sold it, so that's a struggle to get. What torque converter do I need? Because of course with the ZF I can rejogulate the programming, and the torque converter basically, the stall doesn't matter pretty much. But you can buy upgraded and change stall torque converters. But why am I wasting my time? Am I wasting my time? Please comment if you know why I'm wasting my time, or if you don't think I'm wasting my time, but I want some sort of credence to this. I don't want, well, you're wasting your time. It's just pointless. Why is it pointless? Am I going to break it? Are they not as strong as people say they are? Is it going to sap 200 horsepower at my engine and therefore warrant it the slowest car in the world ever? Is it going to be slow on the shift? Is it whatever you do, it's always going to be slow on the shift? Do they leak oil? Do they overheat? why should I not be fitting it? I spoke to a few people before I actually made the purchase, including my mapper, and he said that's the best thing you can do. They're fantastic in the BMWs. The plan being for me personally, once I'm happy with it behind the Rover, I've knocked the living daylights out of it and I'm happy that it's strong enough, then to plonk it behind the Chevy and hope it survives, because then I can obviously unbolt the Rover from the transmission and buy a Chevy adapter plate and bolt it back to the transmission, make some engine mounts, and basically the engine's in. There's a bit more to it than that, but that's the basis of it. Obviously, there's wiring and injectors and all that sort of malarkey and tubing and exhaust and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, it does save a lot of problems. The prop shaft will already be there. The cooling will already be there. The shifter will already be there. And, you know, and if I can get to terms with it, but am I going to hate it? Is it because I'm going to hate it? Is it because it saps too much power? I'm not bothered about miles per gallon. If you're building a race car or a high-powered car or even a custom classic whatever car, if you're worrying about economy, you're in the wrong hobby. Do you know what I mean? How many miles a year do I do in it? Probably less than 1,000. I don't even care what it does to the gallon, you know. And that's not because I'm rich. That's just because I accept that. I know it. I never built it for economy. If you wanted to worry about economy and you want a classic vehicle, go buy a Prius. Go buy some electric. Go buy something else, because classic cars ain't for you if you're worrying about money. But I digress. So why am I wasting my time? Why does it need that sort of power? Why do I need to worry about having that much power? Do I need to tune up to that sort of power to make use of it? Will it not stall? Will it overstall? Will it? I have no idea. Please quantify. If you are of that belief and you know why, I don't want to say because Dave on the internet told me that basically, unless you're doing 700 horsepower and drifting, total waste of time. I've said before and I'll say it again, I've heard so much BS on the internet from people about they know this, they know that, and all they've done is read it off the internet where some other idiot has said it. And that's fine. I'm not saying you're an idiot if you know, but unless you've got some experience or you know for a fact my mate's got a, and it only had, and it, you know, I don't understand. I can map it to do anything I want. And like I say, Jaguar fitted them with whatever power I put in previously and torque. And they didn't seem to think it was a waste. If it was a waste to put the big 70 in, then why wouldn't they put a 50 in? If it's a waste to put a 70 in, you know, why did they put a 90 in a Rolls Royce? Why did they put a 90 in I think they're in the Hellcats. Did they need to? Did they not need to? I mean, they don't grip particularly well, probably, on the drag strip or whatever. Do they do a lot of drag launches with them? I don't know. So this is a genuine, bona fide question. If you've hung on this long, then thank you, and please let me know. If you think it's a great idea and you're interested to see what happens, then join my league of minions, because that's where I am at the moment. I just want to know what happens. If you know for a fact why I'm wasting my time, please say by all means. If you just think I'm wasting my time full stop, and I should have just stuck with a H-pattern box, which H-pattern box? Because a TKX is about the same price. And I know they only go up to 600 foot-pounds. So, you know, I think. But is that 600 foot-pounds with good... I mean, I know somebody using one with about 550 horsepower and probably similar torque in a plastic car, in a TVR. But I also know he's using an independent rear end. I also know he's 60 foots out 1.2 seconds, you know. He does it pretty hard, to be fair to him, but he isn't, you know, he ain't doing 0.99 seconds, 60 foots. Not that I expect me to do either, but... So, help, really, is the upshot of that. If you can be of help, please do. If you can't be of help, feel free to offer an opinion. I don't mind at all. You won't offend me. As long as you keep it appropriate, I don't really care. You can tell me I need to shave. I don't care about that either. So... I'm not easily offended, I never have been, and I won't be over this. But, as I've said in many a video before, and I've said to many people over the life, don't BS me. I don't want to hear that my mate's brother's sister's dog had a ZF in his car, and it's just rubbish. Torque converter fell off and flywheel broke. Please don't make stuff up, that's just pointless. But if you have any genuine input, or if you're just waiting around to see what happens when I actually do hit the hammer, then please let me know. Okay. I hope that's of use. I hope it's of interest. And I hope you don't mind me just making it's not a rant, but it's kind of a request for help. Because obviously I'm well into this now, and if I'm making a mistake, I want to get well back out of it before time goes on. But please let me know. And yeah, please hit like, and please share, and please subscribe, and all that usual stuff. Thanks for your time. Bye.